Hey, what's up? This is JR Noble, and welcome to the third part of this video series where we're taking a look at the simpler instrument inside of Ableton. If you missed those first two videos, be sure to go back and check those out. You can also head over to my website at jrnoble.co and download the sample that we're using for creating these sounds, if you're not watching this on my website already. In the first video, we used some of the basic features of the simpler, and we created this arpeggiated kind of sample. Okay, in the second video, we used that same exact sample and recreated this new sound. And now in this third video, what we're going to do is we're going to create more of a riser kind of shifter sound using the same exact sample again. All right, and it's going to sound like this. Okay, so you can hear that there's a lot going on with that. And I'm going to break it down now on how exactly I layered and stacked all of that together, because what you can see is that there's three different things going on at the same time. And they're basically all doing the same thing. They're just minor variations of that same thing. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go back to this instrument and you can duplicate it. So just use Command D. We'll get rid of these MIDI clips, these MIDI regions here. We don't need those. And then we're going to go down into this instrument. You see we have the same exact saxophone sample. We're going to turn off the filter. We don't need that for this one. And then we're going to go get rid of this phaser. And we're going to turn off the delay. We don't need that. So now what we're going to look at is we're going to go back to the LFO and we're going to turn it down on the transpose because we don't need that. And we're actually going to turn on the glide feature this time. And down here, you can change the amount of glide time. The glide is basically the amount of time it takes to get from one note to the next. And if I keep the glide time really short, and I go from one note to the next, you'll hear that it jumps to the note really quickly. Now, if I change that glide time to something a lot longer, it's going to take longer for the note to get from one note to the next. So we're basically making use of that glide feature and we're going to turn it into kind of a riser sound. We're going to bring it all the way up to about, I think, 8 seconds or so, somewhere up here. Now this is where it gets a little bit more advanced because we're basically going to apply this LFO now to the pan feature. And we're going to do 100%, and then we're going to take it all the way, we're going to change it, and we're going to make it in time, and we're going to take it down to 64th notes. And what that's going to do is it's going to make these really, really wide kind of pans. It's going to take this sound and turn it really wide, and it's going to be really fast. And now we're going to turn this to the square wave. So now if we play, so what that does is it's going to make it really, really wide. It's going to sit towards the outsides of the stereo field. And then we want to kind of fill in the middle so that way it makes for like a fuller kind of sound as we're making this riser. So then we'll duplicate it out again. And on this one, we're just going to make a slight change. We're going to take that LFO, we're going to take it down to a little under 50% or so. And then we're going to change this to quarter notes on the beats, and then we're going to take and make it a sine wave so it's not as noticeable, and it'll be kind of wavering, but it'll be a little bit more centered and it'll kind of fill in everything, whereas this one's going to be really far outside and this one's going to be kind of more in the middle. And then we'll just take and make these. So this MIDI clip I just started with, I created a note on F3, so that's in key with the song. And then I jumped up a few octaves, like I think 4 octaves or so, and put this one up to about A7. And so it rises up and it gets to a point where it doesn't quite get to the note, but it's fine. It gets to where we need it to. So then I can take this MIDI region and just copy it over into these two. And now if we go back to this one, you'll hear. So you can hear that it doesn't go as wide. It stays a little bit more towards the center, and it's a little bit smoother. So it's not as choppy as this other simpler that we created. So then we're going to take this, so we're going to duplicate it one more time, Command D. Okay, so we just duplicated that one. We're going to leave the LFO towards the middle. We're going to change it to eighth notes now. So it's going to be pretty much the same thing, but it's going to be modulating at a different rate. So then it's going to add to the layers. It's going to make it sound thicker and fuller. And so now what we have is we have 3 of the same instruments, but they're all doing slightly different things. And they're playing the same notes. So when we stack all these together and we play them together, it's going to sound a lot fuller and thicker. So it sounds like this. So you can hear that it makes a fuller sound because you have the one instrument here that's panning out really hard left and hard right. So it's making it sound a lot wider. And then you have these two kind of playing more in the middle, and they're still modulating. So it still sounds like there's a lot of movement. And then it's gliding up and doing all this fun stuff over here. So if you want to get really crazy with this, you can add in automation so that way it doesn't just stay at the 64ths. You could take this and change it to like maybe starts at quarter notes and gets to 64th notes towards the end. And so you can get really crazy with this, add in some automation and things like that. That's pretty much it. If you take this instrument, you duplicate it out 3 times, and then you, like I said, you make those minor differences, it's going to start to sound fuller. And that's all with this one saxophone sample that we started with from the very first video. And so we just now use that same sample in 3 different ways within the same sound to create a fuller, bigger sound. And then we use the glide feature here to make it sound like a riser. And it's just going to add a really cool textural kind of riser that you won't find in most virtual synths because, well, they don't have this sample that you have now. So you can apply this same thing, but use your own sample. Try something different. And then what I'll do is I'll show you what this sounds like with everything going on at the same time. I'm just muting those out because I have these other ones that I already created. So now I'll just play this back so you can hear what it sounds like with everything, including the risers and these other 2 synth kind of sounds that we created in the last 2 videos. So here's what it all sounds like all together. Okay, so you can hear we have all those sounds kind of going on in there. So now you can hear how we created 3 completely different sounds just using one sample and the simpler instrument with the help of some other plugins from Ableton. But for the most part, it's just the one sample and the simpler. Like I said before, if you didn't check out video 1 and video 2, make sure you go back and check out those first 2 videos. So that way you can see how we created these other 2 sounds using that saxophone sample. And you can go over to my website at jrnoble.co if you're not there already, and you can download the saxophone sample and try it out for yourself. I hope you got some kind of value out of that. If this helped you out in any kind of way, drop a comment below. Let me know. If it left you with more questions, go ahead and drop that question down in the comments and let me know. Once again, my name is JR Noble. I want to thank you for stopping by and checking out these videos, and I'll have more stuff like this for you guys on my website. You can go there, and I've got a bunch of blog posts you can check out and some other workshops that I've done. I've posted those videos on there. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tune back in for some more good info like this coming up soon.